guys, this is Sanik. In the last video, we had discussed about the brains of the calculator, that is all the functions, and we had learned about classes. Okay, now in this video, I've removed the accept numbers and the encalc function, so keep that in mind. And I've also added another function which is called print result. Okay, it's over here. We're going to look at what it does later on. First, let us look at what we've done to implement all these functions, which is this huge block of code over here. Okay, so let's discuss about it. So first we start off with an else statement over here, which is indented with this if and elif statement. Then we define an empty string called final answer. We'll use that for later. And we have a bunch of lists or arrays. Okay, now what is a list? A list is a collection of items. Okay, so right now this is like a test list over here. A list can contain items of different types. I could have strings, I could have integers, I could have floats, etc. Right now all these lists just have strings because that's what we're dealing with. Now you might think that the position of BMW over here in this list is 1, but no, in Python and many other languages the index of the first item is 0. So suppose we were to define a list called cars and we had BMW, Volvo and Audi in it. The index of BMW is 0. The index of Volvo is 1 and of Audi is 2 and so on. Okay, so basically the index of the last item of the list is the length of the list minus 1 because the first index is 0. Okay, so that is about lists, the final answer variable as we had discussed previously, and these lists with all the operations. Now over here we use a for loop, so for I in range len upper minus 1. So basically len means to find the length of the string. Okay, so the length of the string minus 1, that is of course the last element of the string. Okay, so iterate through the index of every element of the string, not every element of the string, the index of every element. Okay, so yeah, so like suppose the length of upper was 10 characters, then the indexes would be every number from 0 to 9 because we are using minus 1 over here. So the first character would be 0, blah blah blah, last character's index would be 9. Okay, so then let's move on to the next statement, which is this if statement over here. So if oppers I is in encalc, so this opper and then square brackets and then the index, it's called the array notation. Okay, so you can suppose I wanted to get the value of the second item in a list, I could use cars and then square brackets and then 1 because that's the index of the second item. So if opper I in encalc, now opper over here is actually a string, but you can use it as a list. So final answer is eval opper. So if the opper is an encalc, that is plus, minus or multiplication, then you can just evaluate it. Otherwise, if it's E or if it's E with a space, just to be on the safe side, then our program is going to return the result of E from the iConstant function. So the first parameter is self, which we use as none, and then the second parameter as the constant. Okay, so that is that. Now the else statement over here is if none of the conditions are satisfied. If A, and then it's a formatted string then, so we can use curly braces, opper I and then opper I plus 1. So basically this means the current character and the next character of the current iteration. Okay, so A is that string, so if A is an I constant. Now the reason we've done this is because some operations require 2 characters, so like 10 RA6, 2 characters of the operation. Okay, then we use something like final answer is calculate.I constant none a, which returns pi because we've already checked for e. Now L over here is replace a plus an empty string with an empty string. Okay, so basically we used a plus in empty string because plus automatically appends an space character. So L is equal to replace a plus an empty string with an empty string. So basically this means if the user typed in something like 10RA6, then this statement would remove RA and a space and leave us with 10 and 6. So if L dot split statement, what it does here is that according to the separator, it splits the string into two elements of an array. So right now if we were to use L dot split and then store that in some variable, because split does not modify the existing list. So if L dot split, which means that if there is something after we do L dot split, then C is L dot split. Then we use a try block over here. So try B comma L is equal to C and then the array notation 1 and then C and then the array notation 0. That is basically accessing the second and first element. So accept an index error which says that this index does not exist in the list. So B is the first element of the list C. Okay, so C over here is L dot split. Remember that. We do not need this else pass statement over here, so let's remove it. Then we have an else if statement. So if A, that is this formatted string over here, if it is in C-calc, then do that following operation. Okay, otherwise if it is in R-calc, then do that calculation. And then after it has checked, then let's move on to print result. That function, it takes three operations: none, oper, and final answer. Just self as none, expression as oper, and answer as final answer, the variable. Okay, so first it uses the clear function which we had defined previously. Then it prints out a formatted string expression. First it says expression and then the expression whatever the user has entered and then the answer. Okay, so that is our calculator done and done. Now let's have some tests to see if it actually works. So first we quit. Okay, Q works, then H works too. So let's try out with something not too complex, like 1 plus 1 plus 1. There you go, answer is 3, and brackets work too. So if you were to do something like 2 into if you were to do that, we would get an answer 11. Okay, now let's test out something like 10RA6, or maybe not RA. Let's test out 10RP for the perimeter of the rectangle or square. We get the answer 32. So finding the perimeter is just the first number into 2 plus the second number into 2. Okay, so our calculator works, even pi works, but something like 2 into pi wouldn't work because it scans for pi first. So if you want to multiply 2 with pi, you can't do something like 2 into pi. That would just return the value of pi. Okay, so let's try it again. See, it just returns the value of pi. Instead, you will have to copy the value of pi and then do something like 2 into the value of pi. Then you would get 2 times the value of pi. So that is it for this video. Remember, I will be sending the code. Link will be in the description of this video. Bye.